And for over 2 decades, ECG has been delivering technical expertise and staffing solutions to leading operators in the ICT industry, that from contributing to the development of Verizon's One Talk service to engineering products for Inmarsat. ECG's impact spans across major global operators. Today we speak with Mark Lindsey. He's a principal at ECG, that to discuss their role in the industry's transformation and the future of telecom engineering. And Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Abe.
Well, thanks for being here. Big show here in Barcelona. How's it been for you so far?
It's been really good. Lots of good meetings, lots of good contacts.
Great. So I have a number of questions to ask you. I want to start with how can lessons from voice over IP inform really the multi-vendor interoperability challenges that exist in Open RAN?
Yeah, I think the voice over IP and the IMS development from about 25 years ago really serves an interesting lesson for Open RAN developers now. We started with really single source or single vendor Open RAN type of deployments that we're seeing now, and then we saw the same kind of thing in the VoIP and IMS world early on, where we saw the big players like Nortel and Lucent really rolling out some of that initial deployment using all their own equipment. But I think that's natural. Some folks have been really a little startled by that. They said, well, Open RAN is not really achieving the success that we were hoping it would achieve. And I think that's a little premature to say that. It's always natural when you're bringing out a new standard to see that the vendors are going to implement it on their own, in their own way. So I think that's one big area. Not to be too startled. It's pretty normal, but it's part of the evolution process. And what we need to see is that the network operators are going to need to push back on those sources, whether it's Nokia and Ericsson or Parallel Wireless, to actually do that testing with other vendors. And so you'll see that really, and we see that a lot at the show, where vendors are starting to work with each other, but it really has to be driven by that customer. I think another big area that's of overlap is the way standards can have options. And so where in Open RAN, there's a lot of good work being done. Standards are getting fully baked right now, but there are always options for whether to do it this way or that way, and that can lead to some complexities. You've got to decide what they are. So one of those options, for example, in the VoIP and IMS world, was just how do we transfer touch tone or DTMF digits through? And there were a half a dozen potential ways that were discussed, and it was because the major vendors had kind of early chosen one or the other. So it's important for the network operators to, as soon as they can, hone in on a de facto standard. Even though the standard's going to allow them multiple options, it's pretty important for them to be able to choose one that's going to be used more broadly. And then cybersecurity is kind of another big area where we see that the networks that were built, they had a kind of natural isolation in voice and telecom networks early on, and then as the newer technology, whether it's based on cloud computing or just IP networking, that is introducing new cybersecurity challenges that the industry is fairly new to. So there's a good game about being talked about zero trust networking right now, which is great. So it's exactly the right idea, but I don't quite think it's actually being realized yet. And that's what I'm telling my clients is you've got to really understand what zero trust networking is. It doesn't just mean some IP access control list. It really means, in practice, exposing your applications to malware and attackers. And so that's changing things. So there's some lessons where maturity is going to be required, and I think we're seeing a lot of the same kind of patterns that we've seen in other multi-vendor telecom concepts through VoIP and IMS. Really, we're seeing those come back out in Open RAN and development.
Interesting. Mark, I want to move on to some of the key benefits of implementing end-to-end visibility and packet capture capabilities, that in Open RAN really troubleshooting.
Yeah, it's important to have the ability to see what's happening in these protocols. I think this is commonly not appreciated until you get into the deep multi-vendor interop and you've got deadlines, and your network operators are going to wonder, why can't we see what's happening inside my software? There's a trade-off challenge between how much detail do these software-based systems give and then how much CPU power is required to do. But a mistake I saw being made by some of the big vendors, for example, some of the equipment that's sold in the session border controller space, the security space, was that they kind of assumed